Hi everyone, I'm with my great friend Michael Bachman. And Bachman, you wrote a really cool book. Could you tell me a little bit about it and what do you do?
Right. Well, what I do is I am the chief architect in the office of the CTO at Boomi, and I wrote a book called Modern Enterprise Data Pipelines along with 3 other colleagues, now at Dell Technologist. And that was one of the many things that I've done. A lot around AI though, especially since you came along.
But one of the key premise of this book that he was talking about are these different systems you might have. Could you tell me about the 3 systems you wrote about and what was going on there?
Sure. There are 3 systems, as you say. One is a system of integration. That's the system that connects to all of these different endpoints that have data. 2 is a system of operation. This is where your transactional data or sort of the business level data is that runs your particular enterprise. And then there's a system of analytics, which is being able to analyze, typically or historically in data lakes, but now in real time, what actually goes on within various pipelines.
And do you think like the world of people looking at data and the world of AI looking at data the same, or how different is it?
Well, if I may, I think while there are many smart people on the planet, our puny brains can't keep up with the efficiency of AI in general. And where machine learning has really come over the last decades is astounding. And yes, while we have narrow intelligence right now focused on specific tasks, these tasks can be performed by non-human automata far better than humans can do, and more efficiently, especially when they're directed at problems sourced through data that's traceable.
Yeah, the thing that I always found fascinating is the things AI does really well and the things people do really well. And when we set the systems up the wrong way, we kind of make the AI work inefficiently, and then we try to put the onus on the humans to do things they can't, right? So let's take the world of real data. Let's imagine you're in the world of SAP and you're filling out an order information. Wouldn't it be interesting to know that the person will pay for this order or not? Like, will you be able to collect on that order? Or my inventory is going to stock out? How would I do that in the world of Boomi? Like, what information would I need?
Well, you need data, first of all. And to your point, I just want to capitalize on this. Not only can we look at stock out information or look at will this customer pay or won't they pay, but we can also look at the opportunity to decrease net terms. You know, what's the opportunity that you would pay before net 30? And could we reward for that too? Those are just examples of modern ERP that we could look at if we have in-band analytics.
Yeah.
And so the first thing we need are data sources. And these come from a panoply of different endpoints. And so it doesn't start with the ERP system, it starts with systems of records and different systems of record in different organizations. And from these different data points, they might be providing different angles or dimensions on the data that they have. And to be able to integrate them can be a tricky thing if you don't have the right tools.
Absolutely right. And imagine we got the data. So we are in front of Aible Sense. The data has now come in from SAP. The question is, can I do something with the data? What are we doing here? Like, how does Boomi and Aible work together in that context?
Yeah, the cool thing about Sense, as an example, is it tells me, is there a there? Meaning, do I have interesting data that's analyzable at this particular point in time? And so why that's important in conjunction with any ERP, whether it's SAP or Sugar or Oracle, it doesn't matter what your ERP system is. The bottom line is that we need to know if there's signal in the data that we're tapping into. Right. Because once what usually happens is this data goes to a different platform for enrichment, and then at that point it gets sifted through almost like a data lake, but it's data mart, data warehouse, that sort of thing. But what if we could sense if there was actual data in each data pipeline coming from these sources of data at first? And that's difficult to do if you don't have something like Sense.
And how hard it is to put in Sense into a Boomi flow?
It's not hard at all. It's, in fact, our teams built connectors together to make that super easy. And not only is it a connector, it's one thing to be able to connect to something, it's entirely something else to get feedback loop in the actual connection itself. That is integration on steroids. It's integration with the ability to understand what's being integrated. That's what Sense does. It tells me what kind of signal I have in my data. It looks at signal to noise ratio. It makes sure that I know what I can look at and pull in or take out any analytical data that is going to obfuscate what real data I need. It starts there. And once I have these green lights, then that enables me to do far more and get more insight into my actual data as well.
Now let's move from the world of AI to the world of humans.
Okay.
Unknown unknowns. The world has changed.
Yep.
And by the way, 3 months back, the world looked so different than today. And I'm sure of one thing, 3 months from now, the world will look very different from today.
Indeed.
So what we are doing with Explore is showing the unknown unknowns. What has changed? Because a human being has to come up with a question that they want an answer to. What AI can do is ask millions of questions and tell you, here are the 5 things you need to know. How does that affect that end-to-end, the 3 systems you were talking about? We are moving to the systems of intelligence, I believe. How does that fit in?
Yeah, so
Systems of analytics, sorry.
systems of analytics, right?
Yeah.
So we had systems of integration, and we talked about systems of operation and how that's going to be pervasive throughout, the whole pipeline itself. Systems of analytics traditionally are injected at the very end of the process. Why can't we put the systems of analytics in between each stage of a particular pipeline? What I get here with Aible is the ability to do that sort of thing because I get this recurrent feedback loop. So not only did I sense what signal in my data, now I get to see what's correlated with each other as well. And so from your question about humans, it's hard to make predictions about data when your model of the world is confined to your thinking and your being human thinking. When you have a data-driven approach where you have automata basically telling you what the correlations are, new patterns and new discoveries can be made in data that you never thought possible before. And that's exactly what happens when we explore our data with Explore.
And one interesting thing is it goes beyond just correlation. So 5 things can be correlated to an outcome. What you care about is which of them in combination really affected my outcome. Because you don't want to go after spurious correlations. In fact, this happened at the BI Bake-Off. There were a lot of presentations about how one country did worse compared to the others. In our analysis, we found once you considered all of the factors in the UN data, it wasn't a matter of the country, it was the underlying patterns that drove that behavior. When we simplify it down to this country did bad, this country did well, we actually take away the ability to act because we allocate the effect on something that you can't change.
Absolutely.
Right? Then we come to the world of optimize, where what you're doing is predicting the things we are talking about. And in the middle, by the way, AutoML happens here. This is looking at many, many models, figuring out what model makes sense. But how do we decide what model makes sense? In terms of what creates economic value. So back to your example, if I've defined economic value to be, will I be able to sell because there's no stock out? Or will I have gotten better cash flow characteristics by offering prepayment terms? It will evaluate the AI based on what's the expected economic value, not some kind of a crazy academic thing.
Which the other thing too, the problem we often get accused of in the office of the CTO is that we're here for science experiments, and science experiments and research is a must. It needs to happen. It also means that you need to be able to, in real time, be able to analyze, use new technology in a way that's going to generate revenue now, or cut costs now, or attenuate risk now. Those are the types of things that need to happen. The great thing, I think, about the way that Aible supplies a way to optimize is it does all of these dimensions in practical, real terms, using hypotheses that are generated at first by your AutoML, and then being able to twist and turn the knobs and tubes that you have there to either increase revenue, reduce cost, or attenuate risk. Those are huge added values within a pipeline.
And nice of you to say Aible. I think it's Aible and Boomi. We are in front of a wall about these 30-day case studies.
It's true. And
there's a great case study in front of us, which people can't see. It's a leading university student retention with Boomi. It says it right there, where 12% improvement in student retention in 30 days. That's what we mean by real stuff, not some academic research paper.
Absolutely. And one thing, since you brought up my company, Boomi, the reason why this is so good, the combination between Boomi and Aible, is because agility and speed means something to our customers. And so when you can have the ability to plug into any data source or sink necessary within a pipeline and you can apply to that pipeline all of the analytics that does what we've talked about right now, that creates a new weapon in the arsenal that just hasn't been there before.
And the reality is, what do you do with a predictive model? You just sit on it? No, you
Nope.
want to get it right inside SAP, you want to get it right inside your ERP, in your CRM to act differently.
Absolutely.
What's that called?
Yeah, I mean, well,
That's integration.
that's all the system of integration. And
Yeah.
so integration means more than connection, right? It's not just plugging in or writing a connector or anything like that. What it means is getting value out of your data within the pipeline that you have. And this is new because when we have to batch process everything, we're delayed. Time is of the essence. Time to market is probably the most critical thing you can happen. It doesn't happen if you don't have fast integration. It doesn't happen if you are absent of in-band ML. I mean, you've got to have that in your pipeline. And so we are providing together this new weapon that just hasn't really been available to us.
And because you brought up batch processing, now there are things like data lakes and all that stuff that's being used. They have a place when you're trying to analyze for humans. But in the world of AI, here is the problem. All the data transformations we did back there, you know what? You got to replicate that when you're going to deploy the model. Because anything you did to change the data, you better change it out here. Otherwise, the AI doesn't look at data it can recognize, right?
Exactly.
And why introduce delays when the AI could be learning off of new data really quickly and changing itself really quickly, putting something in the middle that's just going to slow it down?
Absolutely.
Speed is the main thing we're driving for.
Speed and consistency as well. Oh, and the other thing is we don't want perfect data. If we do that, we overfit models.
Yes.
And when we overfit models, we don't get a good sense of reality for our business. So we want the data as it exists. And if something's wrong in the data, it'll come out in here. And so you can do faster hypothesis testing and see if, okay, do I need to change the way that I'm thinking about this model in general? Do I need to look at the data in a different way? Do I need to analyze it? Right. Maybe analyze different metrics and KPIs that I previously hadn't even thought of before.
Yeah.
Give us your data as it is within the pipeline, and then all of this will emerge. It's an emergent phenomenon, and you need these 3 different systems to be able to do that.
And the more you put manual processes in the middle, the more you're handicapping that AI. You want that AI to work, and then you want the human to be able to confirm that the AI is doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to monitoring. Because if you can't see, is the AI working right? Is it introducing bias in my system? Is it actually hurting my business when I thought it was going to be good? If you're not monitoring even user adoption, are people changing their behavior based on the AI? What are you doing?
Yeah.
That's the part. And now we have this end-to-end loop where we started from the world of Boomi to get the data out of our systems, created the analysis to show what happened, get those recommendations back inside different applications with Boomi, and see that the whole thing is working, and you did it end-to-end without manual interventions.
And you say end-to-end, but really it's a closed-loop system.
Absolutely. People can't probably see the circle going all the way back on the screen, but there is a circle going back. Please.
Yeah, and the really great thing about this is the ability to adapt and change as different conditions change, right? Yeah. So if you have in-band analytics, and if you have a quick and nimble way to be able to attach to sources and sinks, getting new metadata out of those sources and sinks that's appropriate, then all of a sudden what you can adapt to what the AI is telling you your reality is based on data. Yeah. See, again, we've said this over and over, our minds, while brilliant, we've got a long way to go to be where the AI is seen. AI can see things that we simply can't. And while AI, again, is a narrowly focused intelligence now, and it can't generalize at this point, what we can do with it right now is get much, much clearer, crisper outcomes from our data if we have this kind of closed loop system. Boomi, Aible provide that.
Absolutely, and my belief always is the human curiosity, human domain knowledge are crucial. You want them at the end of the process though. If you put it at the beginning of the process, you introduce human bias. You introduce slowness. You introduce things that actually harm the AI. But when you put those same insights at the back of the process, you make sure that the AI is doing what the organization intended. And that's why we think this approach is going to work out really well for organizations.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Bachman. Really
Arjun,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.